together to create Unified Neighborhood Partners because all the organizations are going to be participating in the development of all the properties to create one whole community. We, in addition, we have the involvement of local groups and Community Board 3. We'll talk more about it in an outreach committee. And we have the permanent involvement of Joe NYC, which is a nonprofit asset manager, as the long-term owner of the property and control. The project and the vision is to create a total of 390 units among 5 individual buildings that are going to be developed in 3 specific projects. There will be also a community facility space. One is a workforce development center, another community center, and a modest retail space on Flushing Avenue. All the buildings are going to be energy efficient, and we'll talk more about that in more detail. And there's going to be a cleanup of the developments because through the Brownfield Cleanup Program of New York State. You can see here, this slide shows you the neighborhood. The rendered sites you can see here are the 4 city lots that are going to be developed. The blue, the light blue that you can see here, are sites that are already have been developed by members of Unified Neighborhood Partners. And together we are seeking to try and create this overall connectivity and create a wonderful neighborhood for the community. The sites were divided originally in a request for proposals by the city, and we've kept them in the monikers that they did. So there's Site A, which are 2 smaller lots, one here on Flushing and one on Bartlett. There's Site B, which is a large through lot between Bartlett and Jerry. And there's Site C, which encompasses Group Avenue all the way from Jerry Street and Bartlett. Overall, we're going to be developing those 390 units. There's 387 rental units and 3 units that are going to be for superintendents. They're divided amongst the 3 developments, 78 units on Site A, 170 residential Site B, and 139 on Site C. More importantly, the partners really wanted to look at how we could create a balance of incomes and unit sizes, and we wanted to look at it as all 3 sites together. So as you see, we are following the approach that was done. There was a lawsuit, as many of you are aware, and a settlement from the city. And so that allowed, dictated that we approached this based on the financing that was done in 2017. So we have approximately 10 units that are going to be set aside for formerly homeless households. But then we have all of the units are going to be low income, ranging from households at 30% area median income up to 80%, and fairly evenly divided across. The mix of units as well, we have 6% of the units are going to be 4 bedrooms, 11% at 3 bedrooms, and 25% at 2 bedrooms. So there'll be this mix of singles and families and accommodating large families in addition. I'll briefly go through the couple of the early projects. This project, Site A, Bartlett Crossing, is going to be on these 2 sites, one on Flushing and one on Bartlett. It will have a combined 78 units and a super, and it will have a retail space. This site is going to have a ULURP that will be coming to this community board in January or February, because this building here, the smaller one on Bartlett, is a vacant lot and needs to go through disposition. All of the other properties went through the rezoning and disposition back in 2009. These are some images of the buildings. This would be the building on Flushing Avenue with the ground floor retail space on the corner. It's taking up this intersection of Jerry Street and Flushing Avenue. In addition, the smaller building, this is an image from the Bartlett Playground, the public park on Bartlett Street. And it's looking at this smaller space in between an existing building that was constructed since we started. The next project is called Broadway Commons. We call it Site B, and it encompasses a through lot. It would be a much larger. It's actually a little mistake here. It would be 170 units through the site. This project is going to be two separate buildings, one facing Bartlett and one facing Jerry Street. And we will create a lovely courtyard garden shared by those two buildings. But even more critical is we are going to be creating a 2,000 square foot community space there where we see that as a gathering place, and it's a place where there could be a food pantry, and there could be on some days workshops and community meetings and other things that could bring all of the residents, not just from these buildings, but from the surrounding neighborhood to come and share and have interchange. The other two buildings in that image are the building on Bartlett, and they would be that would be how they would be rendered. The last site, and I'll let my colleague Drew go through that, is Through Corners, and you can see it's this rendered building and runs on Throop Avenue between Bartlett and Jerry. And Drew will be able to talk in more detail about features that we expect in all of the buildings. So, Drew?
Hello, everyone. Thanks. If you could just go back to that other slide to present Through Corners. This is going to be the first phase of the project. So out of the 5 buildings, we are planning to do this one building starting in early 2022, which is the main reason that we decided to do this presentation today, because construction is right around the corner on this first phase. So this one is 139 units, multifamily affordable housing plus 1 super, as Frank mentioned, live-in supers. And then this also contains approximately 7,000 square feet for a workforce development center on the ground floor, which is going to be operated by St. Nick's Alliance. They already have a robust workforce development program, which is going to have a new headquarters in this building. I also wanted to emphasize that all of the Broadway Triangle buildings are going to be all electric buildings with passive house design and solar panels as well. You can see the solar panels distributed on the rooftops here, the blue. So it's very important to us, given the environmental impacts of natural gas and so much that's been happening with natural gas pipelines in New York City, that we can move away from fossil fuels. So these buildings will be all electric, and then also passive house, which is a style of construction which emphasizes air tightness and ventilation to create comfortable living conditions and also much more efficient operations. So the buildings will operate efficiently, which saves money for the building management as well as the tenants who live there. Lower utility bills, better for the environment. So that's going to be the gist of Through Corners, but also that is a prototype for the subsequent phases of the project. And Through Corners also, we're very proud of the number of 3-bedroom and 4-bedroom apartments that we have in the building, which will also have hookups for washer dryers there. So we really want to emphasize families, because a lot of times with affordable housing, you don't get as many large units, and we wanted to do that in this project. So once again, here's the site map, just emphasizing site C. I think you can keep moving through. And some renderings of site C as well through corners. So one other thing that's exciting is the roof has a little outdoor space. There is a backyard, courtyard as well, but on the roof we're including, in addition to the solar panels, some seating and a pergola for folks to do outdoor events throughout the year on the roof. And there's the view again from across Throop Avenue. This is the breakdown of the units. Since this one's coming up in construction ASAP, we just wanted to emphasize the affordability here. We really did go low. The entire project has 10% formerly homeless. So for a 140 unit building, that's 14 homeless units here. And then these other AMI tiers. So this is a very affordable project, even for affordable housing in New York City. And also I wanted to mention that this whole Broadway Triangle area is a part of the inclusionary housing program. So that was part of the requirement of the rezoning in 2009. It's sort of redundant here since we're already doing 100% affordable housing anyway, but that is why the community board would have received a mailing, or rather, sorry, we sent it over email, but you received our inclusionary housing application prior to this meeting to notify you that we have applied for that program through HPD with 26 permanently affordable units in the building in perpetuity. So I think that's the end of the Site C section.
Yeah.
We do expect construction to begin on that project in early 2022, maybe March or April, or as late as June, but certainly in the first half of 2022.
No, thank you, Drew. That's great, and it's very important because, you know, Riseborough, St. Nick's, LaSource, and UJO have been working collaboratively all the way through. Drew has really been taking the point on this first building and bringing through the design and using the experience that Riseborough has in their past passive house projects to bring that knowledge to all of the buildings, and it's been really one of the areas that the Unified Neighborhood Partners really wanted to focus on is to make sure that we are as extensive in our efforts to get as many residents to be aware of the project and to apply and to go through an open and fair process in terms of being able to get access. So what we've done is we've created an outreach committee that includes not just the four of us, but also 3 community groups, colleagues from Community Board 3. Impact Brooklyn, Bed-Stuy Restoration, and Bridge Street Development Corp. Many of you may remember that this project, though it will be physically in Community Board 1, has a preference of 50% of the lottery units, which would be 90% of the units, the non-homeless units. 50% of those have a local preference, but the local preference is for both Community Board 1 and Community. And so we want to make sure, because this project is right on the border, and that because it's part of the understanding and the settlement, that we get that kind of openness. We will be coming back to the community board. We will be contacting as many civic organizations, local leaders, when the marketing process would start. We don't expect, because as Drew mentioned, construction will not begin until probably the spring of 2022. So it might begin marketing in late spring, or it might be the summer of 2023 is when we might begin marketing for the rent up. Okay. We will have multiple language services that will include Spanish, they'll include Yiddish, they'll include Chinese. We'll be able to accommodate anybody that applies. So with that, I think we just want to open it up for questions. I know our colleagues are, from the other, our members and the executive directors might be in the here to be able to share whatever we can with you all about the project.
Thank you, Frank and Drew. Are there any questions? Are there any
Yes.
questions?
Yes, Madam Chair. Steve Chesler.
Okay, Chester.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks a lot for the presentation. And this is a very exciting project. And I would say first, I just love the environmental aspect of it with the solar panels and the passive design. I wish that was an all electric. Wish that was the standard for all developments. Just considering the current climate situation. I had just a couple questions. One about the courtyard, if that will be publicly accessible or is it just, for the residents? And the second thing was regarding the 50% allocation of units to the two community districts. I understand that there's a legal case pending that is questioning the legality of whether local communities can allocate X amount of units to their local residents. A couple private applications that came through were holding off doing that and waiting for the outcome. Thank you.
So Drew can follow up, but the courtyard that you're referring to is part of the Through Corners project, and it really is an interior courtyard. There really is no way. It's a U-shaped building, and that is a way to focus for the residents within that building. And in addition, the courtyard that's between the two buildings in Site B, Broadway Crossing, is also an interior one for those buildings. Obviously, if there's a community meeting or such, there may be access to those as part of that, but it's not seen as a public park and a general access. In terms of the 50% set aside and the fair housing case that you were referring to, there's a legal case against the city of New York, a fair housing case. It's my understanding, because the city of New York settled another legal case, a discrimination case, and that's why the 50% includes both Community Board 1 and Community Board 3. I would suspect that 50% will be sustained regardless of whether or not the city loses that larger case, because it was part of a court order in terms of that. We will find out, and we will certainly have to know before we begin marketing. But it's my expectation that even if the city loses its fair housing case, because of that court order, this project would continue to be in that. But I'm not sure.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Elkins, Willis.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks, Frank, for the presentation. Sorry if I missed this, but I'm curious if there is any significant commitment to green infrastructure and collecting stormwater on the site, or working with DEP to install rain gardens along the sides of the property. This is a priority zone for the city, given that it combines sewage overflow from this area is going to the Navy Yard. So would love to know what you're doing to collect stormwater to prevent local flooding and protect our sewer system.
Drew, do you know what we're doing at Through Corner?
Yes, I can say that we don't actually have those features designed yet, but we are still working on the landscape design. So there will be an irrigation system in the rear yard, and we're also going to be using low flow fixtures as per Enterprise Green Communities. So at least the building uses less water overall due to the design, but we do not have gray water catchment or, bioswales or things like that designed yet. But I think we have more work to do on the landscape design. And we had talked at the beginning of the project about somehow, once all 5 buildings were up, doing a little bit more like street tree work to unify the frontages. So I would say this is still an open topic. And if we hear that this is something that the community is really interested in pursuing, we can always bring that back to the city and let them know as a way to incentivize getting it into the project. But
We
at the
will,
moment,
yeah,
it is
that's a
not.
good, I think we will bring this to HPD's attention and see how we can incorporate it. Certainly, it's something, as Drew mentioned, because we are trying to create a unified approach. We're looking to do something along Bartlett and Berry Street that would connect these projects, and that kind of stuff would be both environmentally and also from a design, urban design perspective. So we will certainly look at that and see if we can't expand our.
Great, thank you.
Madam Chair, may I speak?
Thank you. Are there any other questions? I
Oh,
don't see any other
It's
hands.
Mr. Gross.
Okay. Gross.
I would like to ask if any parking will be available for the residents.
There is no parking on site. The site is actually serviced by numerous. There's the G train, there's the elevated buses, so there is no parking on site.
And Frank, I want to add that we actually do have bicycle storage and
Right.
solar stroller storage in our building. So this is really meant to incentivize folks to use everything the city has to offer in terms of alternative modes of transportation.
Thank you.
Madam
Mr.
Chair-
Vega, you had your hand up?
Yeah, my raised hand doesn't work. May I say a few words?
Yes.
Thank you. I work for the city. Recently I just retired, but I visited a lot of residents and businesses on Troop. They all suffer serious water flooding, some as much as 6 feet. So please, you have to do some mediation for flooding because that is a reality that we're all living in now. Thank you.
We will look at that. We have our building at the corner of Throop and Jerry at 106 Jerry, and we have our buildings on Broadway. A lot of the flooding is not rainwater wash. It's actually the sewers themselves and the backup, and it's whether it's rain or other. But you're right. We will definitely be looking at that.
Yes,
Got it.
and we also, this was actually flagged by HPD in early stage of design. And so we have no cellar in Site C. Yeah, I don't think the other two buildings are as far along in design yet, but the idea would be to try to minimize subgrade space. We have no cellar in Site C. And for passive house buildings, this is another resiliency measure because a lot of the HVAC equipment is on the roof. So there's no chance that if you do have water infiltration, that you're going to lose power or any of that.
I think actually all the buildings are going to be raised up at least 6 inches above, street level. There'll be a ramping.
Thank you.
Santa Michelli?
Oh, I thank you for the presentation. Yeah, I'm glad the house is a passive house system. That's great. I was wondering, I mentioned that in other meeting in regard to other development, and I mentioned vertical forest, and I was wondering if there were a possibility on top of the passive system to add more green, as has been proved that, this vertical system, forest system, they actually have a tremendous benefit in terms of absorbing water, collecting water, wasting water, but also on filtering air. So they're very good expedient against pollution, both filtering particulate and pollutant, and also, producing oxygen and adding definitely more green space. I mean, a building of this size, envision as a vertical green system that can actually be the equivalent of probably 7-10 acres of parks, which we are missing it. So I was wondering if it was possible also to think a system of this type, especially in this type of projects. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. We will look at that.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
And sorry, I want to say, and in one reference, vertical forest, Stefano Boeri probably know him very well. There's some kind of known project in Milan, especially, but in particularly, in Holland recently, there's a build project, it's not just a concept, and it was an affordable house project, which is a true vertical forest. And it's been very actually competitive in terms of the cost of building it. So it's a full vertical forest affordable house. Please look into that, Stefano Boeri. Thank
Cool.
you.
Okay.
Thank
Love it.
Simon Weiser. Simon? Simon, I see your hand up. Can you hear me? Okay, I don't know where he is. Is there any other
You hear me?
questions? Now I can.
Hello, Simon, you hear me?
Yes, Simon.
Okay, I have a question regarding what I heard Mr. Gross brought up before. I'm just wondering why none of the buildings have any parking at all. I don't say, I mean, a residential and a private developer builds, they have to supply some kind of parking. I mean, there should be no parking at all. I mean, all these few hundred apartments, I think it's going to overload the whole area of with the parking issue. I don't, you're trying to understand low energy and all that kind of enhancements, which is great, but I wonder why this project should get away with no parking at all.
Well, I want to point out that you can see in this image there is this kind of blob building next to ours, running on Harrison between Jerry and Bartlett, and that's a new construction. Actually, it's built now. That doesn't have parking. This area is incredibly well served by public transit, and when the community is pushing us to put as much residential units as possible, we did not feel that it was appropriate to take up that ground floor space with parking spots. So that will not be part of the development.
So who makes that decision? Like, how does it work?
The city of
I mean,
New
I'm
York,
just wondering the process.
HPD, and their approach to the development of new construction in transit-rich areas.
I got it.
What is with underground parking?
Well, that would be great if this was market rate housing and we could charge people and we could amortize that cost over a market rate rental. But we're looking at very low income, and the cost to do underground parking, maintain that, and in an area that we heard already from your colleagues floods considerably, having an underground parking is potentially creating a swimming pool for cars in this neighborhood.
Frank, do you need to keep the presentation open? Can you close it?
Yes.
Are there any other questions?
Can I ask a question? I don't know, I can't raise my hand through the machine. It's Trina. And I just
So
want,
the hand raises under the participants. It's the lower right-hand corner. You'll see a little hand and you see a little mic. Okay, go ahead and speak.
okay, but my
We'll
question
try
is
later.
it just the two buildings of Building A that are going to come through ULURP and will come to the land use committee? Are the other buildings, is there anything for the community board, an opportunity for the community board to vote on it, or are those?
The only building that will come is actually one of the two buildings in Building A. Back in 2009, all of the sites went through the land disposition and rezoning. However, that lot had a building on it at the time. And since 2009, the building that was on that lot was demolished, and now it's a vacant lot. So when it went through the rezoning, since it's changed and now it's a vacant lot, it has to go through. The other ones will come back and we'll present the other ones when we go through the ULURP, but there is not an opportunity to vote on those.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Sonia, is there any questions in the Q&A?
Don't see any. I'm just having some technical difficulties, but I don't see any.
Okay.
Rabbi
Mr. Simon, I have another
Niederman,
question.
Rabbi Niederman is hands on.
Yes, thank you. I just want to commend our colleagues on this presentation, but even more than on the presentation, on the work that they have put in planning it to the every detail to the benefit of the entire community, and basically making sure that every inch that is that has the possibility of housing people should be used and utilized to the best and still keep it affordable. I believe this is going to be beautify an area that begs for beautification. And I thank my colleagues and I thank the community board for their continuing support on this project.
Thank you, Rabbi Needleman. Is there any other questions?
Yes, Madam Chair, William Vega again, if I may, just make a statement.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Got a second.
Yeah, the subway is just 5 minutes away, and if the residents that move into these new developments know there's no parking, that's not going to add additional car burden to the streets because they won't bring cars. And again, like the rabbi said, the project is affordable, and I commend everybody's efforts. Thank you.
You're welcome. Are there any other questions or comments? Are there any other questions or comments? Hearing none. Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
there's someone there trying to ask a question, but she didn't put any. Maureen Bowler, but she didn't indicate a question on the Q&A. I'm trying to get it.
Is she online or on the phone? I don't know. She just put a question mark.
She says she has a question, so I'm trying to ask her what's her question, but it doesn't come up. Hold on.
Do we see on the dashboard, Marie, Jerry?
Oh, she said it's a new message. Let's see if it came out.
She said what?
It's above.
She's unmuted, so she should be able to speak.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, go ahead.
I just had one very quick question. Since they're all electric buildings, what's the situation with air conditioners? And does that mean that there aren't going to be any gas stoves?
There will not be any gas stoves. And the air conditioning and heating is one system so that all the units will be air conditioned and they will be heated through a central kind of system that will be energy efficient. And that way we can really make it more energy efficient by doing it and putting it that way. The passive house provides the kind of insulation that allows the units to be cooler in the summer without having to have the kind of window air conditioning that we're used to, and I have in my house. But so it will work out a lot better. And yes, there is legislation at the state level to actually make all new construction all electric, and the city is moving that way for city affordable housing projects. In part led by groups like Riseborough and others that are doing this kind of passive house and
Thank you.
You're welcome. Is there any other questions? Is there any other questions? Okay, hearing none. Thank you so much, Frank and Drew. We wish you a lot of success.
Thank you all very much.
I think this is going to be a great project for the community, and we wish you well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is liquor license. Is there any comments on the liquor license?
We have some people who signed up to speak. I will turn their microphone on.
Okay, thank you.
Francois? Olivas?
Any speakers' names that was called may speak. Then you said the mics was on, right, Marie? Are any of the speakers' names called ready to speak? Okay, hearing none, moving on. Next item on the agenda is the meeting dates for CB1 combined public hearing and board meeting for 2023. The draft of the meeting dates for Community Board 1. Is there any comments on the meeting dates? The calendar for the meeting dates during the year. Is there any comments on that? Okay, hearing nobody has any comments. Vega, did you have a comment or your hand is still up? Before.
No comment. My function is not working correctly. No comments.
Okay, I see your hand is still up. Okay, hearing no comments. That concludes our public hearing. We'll move right into our board meeting. Can we have a moment of silence, please? Can we dedicate our moment of silence to Dana Rackner, one of our board members who lost a loved one? Thank you. Thank you. Can I have the roll call, please, Jerry?
Gina Argento. Bogdan Bakarowski.
Here.
Lisa Bamonte.
Here.
Gina Barros.
Here.
Tion Brooks.
Here.
Eric Brzez.
Here.
Thomas Burrows.
Here.
Iris Cabrera.
Here.
Bill Caponegro. Frank Carbone.
Here.
Stephen Chesler. Michael Chirichella.
Here.
Teresa Cinciata.
Here.
Giovanni D'Amato.
Here.
Aaron Drinkwater.
Here.
Arthur Dibinowski.
Here.
T. Willis Elkins.
Here.
Julia Amanda Foster. Julia Amanda Foster. On screen. Chairperson Fuller.
Yeah.
Joel Goldstein. Joel Gross.
Here.
Katie Denny Horowitz.
Here.
Sonia Iglesia.
Here.
Moisha Indig. Bozena Kaminsky.
Present.
Thank you. Ryan Coonan. Yoel Landau. Marie Leanza. Abraham Leibovitz.
I'm here, Marie, John. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Mike
Abraham
Chirichella
Leibovitz.
present, Jerry.
I got you. Thank you. Abraham Leibovitz. Yoel Lowe. Trina McKeeva.
Here.
Sante Maselli.
Here.
Toby Moskowitz.
Here.
Martin Needleman. Rabbi Niederman.
Here.
Thank you. Karen Nieves.
Here.
Thank you. Mario Damark.
I'm here.
Janice Peterson.
Here.
Dana Racklin. Bella Sable. Isaac Sofer.
Here.
Thank you. Robert Solano.
Rob Solano here.
Thank you. Del Teague.
I'm here, and I just want to mention that I forgot to tell the chair that I need to present my land use committee meeting report tonight.
Thank you. Tommy Torres. Tommy Torres, William Vega,
Here.
Maria Vieta,
Present.
Stephen Weidberg, Simon Weiser.
Yes, here.
Jerry, this is Gina Argento. I just wanted to let you know I'm here.
So noted. Thank you. Thirty-six members present, Madam Chair, and just a reminder that we need to vote on that calendar. Thank you.
Okay, we'll do it after we, can I have approval of the agenda? Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Iglesias, make a motion.
Second.
Second.
Second. Okay, Sonia Iglesias, who was the first person to second it?
David Niederman.
Rabbi Needleman, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Against? Abstentions? Motion carried. Can I have an approval of the minutes? Have a motion?
Joel.
I make them.
I second that motion, Iris Cabrera. Joe Gross and Iris Cabrera, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Against? Abstentions? Motion carried. Can I have a motion to approve the calendar for the year for 2020, 22, 23?
Joel Gross.
And William
Joe
Vega
Gross.
seconds. And Vega seconds.
Joe Gross, motion, Vega second, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Against? Abstention? Motion approved for the calendar for 2022, 23. Thank you. Next, we have the public session. Can we have the speakers for the public session, please?
Trying to get her. There we go.
Also, Marie, Francois Oliva was having problem, so she
The
was
session's closed now.
okay.
Or
She
to,
was asking if she could.
yeah, the Leslie Wright from Parks Department. You are unmuted, Leslie.
Leslie Wright, Parks.
Leslie Wright from New York's Regional Parks Director, New York State Parks. She's on the call, but she's not answering.
Okay, let's call the next person. Maybe she'll be ready to get on before we finish.
Okay. Francois Olivias.
What topic am I speaking on?
You were speaking on the senior center.
You have 2 minutes to speak about whatever you like.
Okay, no. So I'm actually signed up to speak for two things, but so I have been the acting director or acting assistant director of the Swinging 60 Senior Center. So we just wanted to make sure that all the seniors in the community knew that we're open from 9 until 4 and we are serving lunch again. So if you can just help spread that in the community, that would be great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now let's see, where is Leslie? Leslie, you are unmuted. Leslie? Move on to Lisa Birdie. Lisa?
Yes, hello, I'm here. I was just speaking to, this is going back to the bar issue, but I don't know if we've passed that or not.
You have 2 minutes to speak.
Very good. Okay, so it's about number 12, No Bars LLC, 23 Greenpoint Avenue. It's just an update to the community board from the Greenpoint Coalition. Thank you for your time. Last week, the community residents, along with Sante and myself, met with the applicants. The meeting was positive and the applicants altered their application to have the backyard closed at 10 p.m. We still would like some time to put a community support agreement in place to support this application. That was a conditional approved at the last SLA meeting. During our meeting last week, we had asked that the applicants reconsider the use of the backyard as it presents a donut situation with the residential buildings that border the property, which is 44 Kent. As a compromise, we suggested that the closing of the backyard be further amended to close at 9 p.m. And we're dealing with a trigger of the 500-foot rule on the block, which is Greenpoint Avenue and West Street near Transmitter Park. We've not heard back from the applicant prior to this meeting, and we just wanted to continue the dialogue to establish this community support agreement. And I believe there was a petition from 44 Kent Street that was circulated to ask the same. Thank you for your time.
Who's the next speaker? Marie, who's the next speaker?
That was the last speaker, Chairwoman.
Okay, Leslie still didn't get on?
No.
Okay, next we have, committee reports.
I believe Elizabeth Donnelly was also signed up to speak.
Who?
Elizabeth Donnelly. I live at 44 Kent Street in apartment 1. I believe I signed up on the website, but
You
it's not.
signed up to speak on the liquor license and your name was called when we was on the liquor license.
Okay, well, I just wanted to say that I live at 201 and the courtyard that faces pretty much every restaurant that now has a backyard pending. And that is a few places that were approved. And so I live in rent stabilized housing. I will be directly affected by potential noise, light pollution. And I have a small 1-year-old child who I would like to raise in this apartment, but I am worried about what is going to happen with the stress on development that the city has done without any acknowledgement or discussion with the people who live in the buildings and who stand to be directly affected by the noise, light, and other and construction. And we in our building in particular, we've been dealing with noise pollution, consistent construction, and since about 2.5 years. And it is for those of us who can't afford to go to this, those of us who can't afford to leave have been sort of stuck and feeling crazy because stuff wears.
Your time is up. Thank you.
So I still had a minute left from Swinging 60s. Can I please speak on this?
Please continue, be brief.
Okay, so we circulated a petition in our building, 44 Kent, every single door that was knocked on was signed. Currently, this block alone, I think last year, I don't have the direct stats with me, but I believe there were 270 311 calls about noise complaint. And this year it did go down to 170, which is better. But we really need to have a conversation about the noise pollution that is happening
Please
on
summarize.
Furthermore, we need to have a walkthrough a block with DOT and sanitation. The building that coming up next to us, which I believe is 11 stories, is going to have a two-way garage that will be exiting and entering on Greenpoint Avenue. So if we want to also have the conversation about safe streets, we really need to have pedestrian walkways put in and a stop sign. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And then also one last thing, we need to talk about containerized garbage for the restaurants because we have Transmitter Park.
I'm sorry, your time is up, Francois.
Thanks. Sorry.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
There is a gentleman, I think Isaac Henderson, that said he signed up. I'm not sure, Marie.
What is his name?
Isaac
Henderson, yes. He had signed up to speak during public session, but he wasn't there before.
Yeah, so he just said he would like to speak.
Okay, he got 1 minute since he's late.
Hi, I don't think I was late, but hi, good evening. I'm Isaac Henderson from Lend-Lease, and I wanted to speak related to our application for the waterfront park that's at the India Street Pier. First, I just wanted to thank the committee for its thoughtful consideration of our application and its recognition of our outreach and response to the community over the past year. We very much appreciate all the support and input we received from the entire community and the park itself, and much of which has been incorporated in the design. We're really confident that we're developing a place that will be a significant benefit to the entire community for many years to come, as well as maintaining and operating the New York City water taxi that is sort of the front door to all of Greenpoint. We appreciate the committee's support for our proposed changes to the screening and railing requirements within the Shore Public Way, and in appreciating we'll continue to consider the community's recommendations and heard at the committee hearing. However, I did want to speak briefly on the committee's recommendation to exclude the India Street Pier fencing from our waiver request. The India Street Pier and the connected ferry landing as a significant community benefit and one that Lend-Lease is dedicated to maintaining for years to come. We're also 100% dedicated to maintaining the floating pier so it can remain as a primary stop along the New York City water ferry route. While we derive no revenue from the India Street Pier, the New York City water taxi, or the waterfront park itself, the cost of maintaining and operating these areas is a significant cost for us and will be years to come. While we understand the committee's desire to replace an existing fence that's been in place since the pier was built comes at a significant cost and resources, we also believe these resources
Your time is up, sir.
Are better utilized towards creating a world-class, publicly accessible waterfront park pier and sustaining a sustainable and safe ferry landing.
Please summarize.
In operation for many years to come. I just want to finish real quickly. We hope the board can consider supporting the entire application before the community board, including the requested waiver for the railing along the pier. Thank you very much for all your hard work and consideration. We look forward to continuing our discussions with the community. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Okay, committee reports, SLA. Tom?
Yeah, hang on. Where am I? All right, you all received the report because of scheduling conflicts in September, even though we had set our meetings a year in advance. We did not hold a meeting in September, so all of September's items and all of October's items were put on our October meeting. And then with the new 9 o'clock end time, we didn't get to everybody. So a lot of people were postponed because of, we have huge numbers of applications in this community board. The report that you have is for the items that were on the public meeting of September 14th. There was 32 new applications. 8 of those requested postponement by the applicants. 9 of them we postponed because we didn't have time to get to them. We're recommending denial of 10 for those 10 people didn't show up to the committee meeting. So by not showing up to the committee meeting, they're not following the requirements of the community board review. We recommended 4 applicants for renewal and 1 item we took off the calendar because we've already passed that one. That was item number 20, which was McCarran Park. Then for calendar items that were on the public calendar for October 12th, there was 15 new applications. 3, the applicants requested postponements. We postponed 6 of them because we couldn't get them because of time. 2 of them, we recommend denial because the applicants did not appear. We recommend the approval of 4, but 1 was a conditional approval, which is item number 12, no bars, which is what some of the public speakers spoke about, which was to have a meeting and reach a community agreement with the block associations, community organizations on West Street. And then we recommended on the renewals, we'd made no recommendations because we were not able to get to them, but we clearly have a problem with item number 10 out of the September 14th calendar, which is what's the name of that one? It's the Williamsburg Winery, I believe it's called. And then we have a problem with number 17 was not a renewal, it's a new application. So I don't know how we want to handle this. Like the last meeting, I said, just do the report the way it was, but I think people are going to want us to pull out number 12. And I believe that they're going to want us to pull out number 10 on the renewals of September. So anybody want to make a motion on any of this? Bogdan or somebody?
Motion. Bogdan would like to make the motion to approve the committee recommendation.
Donald seconds that motion.
What was the motion?
The motion was to approve the committee recommendation, please.
What was the committee's recommendation?
That's Tom, if you can just explain once again, please.
I believe Bogdan's making a recommendation that we approve the report as it's submitted.
That's correct.
Arthur Lebanowski would like to second that motion.
Okay, can I have a roll call vote, please?
Chair, there's no objection. We can't
The
make a
motion
roll
is
call.
to accept, the motion is to accept the committee's report as written. Yes is in favor of the report. Gina Argento,
Yes.
Bogdan Bakarowski,
Yes.
Lisa Vamonti,
Yes.
Gina Barros. I'm sorry? Gina Barros,
Yes.
Tian Brooks,
Yes.
Eric Brusadas,
Yes.
Thomas Burrows,
Yes.
Iris Cabrera,
Yes.
Phil Caponegro, Frank Carbone,
Yes.
Stephen Chesler,
Yes.
Michael Chirichella,
Yes.
Teresa Cinciata, Giovanni D'Amato,
Yes.
Aaron Drinkwater, Arthur Divinowski,
Yes.
T. Willis Elkins,
Yeah.
Julia Amanda Foster,
Yes.
Joel Goldstein, Joel Gross,
Yes.
Katie Denny Horowitz,
Yes.
Sonia Iglesia,
Yes.
Moisha Indig, Rosanna Kaminsky,
Yes.
thank you, Ryan Coonan, I'm sorry,
Abstain.
abstain, thank you. Joel Landau, Marie Leanza,
Yes.
Abraham Leibovitz, Yoel Lowe, Trina McKeever,
Yes.
Sante Maselli,
Yes.
Toby Moskovitz, Martin Needleman,
Yes.
Rabbi Niederman.
Yes.
Oh, I thought that was Marty Needleman. Okay.
Yes.
Marty Needleman,
Needleman, yes.
Karen Nieves.
Yes.
Thank you. Mary O'Donnell,
Yes.
Janice Peterson,
Yes, but Marty is trying to get on because he called me
Dana
before.
Racklin,
Fine.
Bella Sable,
Yes.
Isaac Sofer,
Yes.
Robert Solano,
Yes.
Del Teague,
Yes.
Tommy Torres, William Vega,
Yes.
Maria Vieta, Stephen Weidberg,
Yes.
Simon Weiser,
Yes.
Jerry, I didn't unmute it, but I want to say yes, this is Tish.
so noted. 34 yes, 0 no, 1 abstention. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. You can continue, but Tom.
That's the report.
Okay, that concludes your report. Okay, land use.
Thank you. Okay, so we had a public hearing and a committee meeting on the One Java Street application for variance for waterfront usage. One person at the public hearing, one person asked to speak. That person actually just spoke on behalf of unions, workers, and reminded us of the need to provide living wages for the workers. So the application here involves only the waterfront. It doesn't involve the entire open space. And the variances requested were, first of all, regarding the plantings that would be required on the screening buffer. They are asking to have be allowed to have less than the required height of 4 feet for evergreens, and to have less than 50% evergreen species, so that they could have more. There could be more visibility from, from upland to see the waterfront. And then the other variances were regarding guardrails. They want to be allowed to have the existing non-complying guardrails that are now on the India Street Pier, and they asked to be allowed to add wooden guardrails on top of the conforming metal guardrails. So they presented the basic, description and visual renditions for the overall project. The committee overall felt that it was a very nice plan. There will be step downs, native plantings, seating groups, lawn space, tidal pools, riparian gardens. They plan to have exercise classes and performances on the open space, and possibly even have block parties. Several members of the committee expressed a preference for possibly a slightly more fluid design, but the majority of the committee members felt that they were okay with the design as it was, and they pointed out that the developers had done a tremendous amount of outreach to the community and also to the Parks Committee. So they felt that people had plenty of time to participate in what the plan was. And so we ended the public hearing, and at the committee meeting, at which we had a quorum, the committee voted to approve the variance regarding the screening buffer, which will allow much more visibility to the waterfront, to disapprove the variance allowing the current unsightly and non-conforming fencing that's currently on the pier, and to approve the addition of wooden tops on the guardrails surrounding the river reveal. The committee felt that the addition of the wood would blend nicely with the wooden benches. And the committee also agreed to make a recommendation that the developer explore the possibility of making the design more fluid. But this is a recommendation. This was not a condition. And also to recommend considering using native Virginia pines in the planning. So if we can vote on that all at in one vote as a package, I would like to do that.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion, Trina.
Is there a second?
William Vega seconds.
Trina, William Vega, roll call vote, please.
Trina, what's your motion, please?
My motion is, the motion is to accept the committee's recommendation as written and as described by Dell. As written in the report and described.
As
by Dell.
written. Thank you. There's a written report. Thank you.
Yeah.
Gina Argento? Bogdan Bakarowski?
Yes.
Lisa Bamonte? Gina
Jerry,
Barros?
sorry, I'm not sure if you heard me. Gina Argento said yes, sorry.
So noted. Lisa Bamonte? Gina Barros? Tian Brooks?
Yes.
Eric Brusadas?
Yes.
Tom Burrows?
Yes.
Iris Cabrera?
Yes.
Phil Camponegro? Frank Carbone?
Yes.
Stephen Chesler?
Yes.
Michael Chirichella?
Yes.
Teresa Cinciata? Giovanni D'Amato? Aaron
Yes.
Drinkwater?
Yes.
Aaron Drinkwater? Arthur Dibinowski?
Yes.
T. Willis Elkins?
Yes.
Julia Amanda Foster?
Yes.
Joel Goldstein? Joel Gross?
Yes.
Katie Denny Hurwitz?
Yes.
Sonia Iglesia?
Yes.
Moisha Indig? Bozena Kaminsky?
Yes.
Ryan Coonan?
Yes.
Yoel Landau? Marie Lianza? Abraham Leibovitz? Yoel Lowe? Trina McKeever?
Yes.
Sante Maselli?
Abstain.
Toby Moskowitz? Martin Needleman? Rabbi Niederman?
Yes.
Karen Nieves?
Yes.
Mario Domerick?
Yes.
Janice Peterson?
Yes.
Dana Racklin? Bella Sable?
Yes.
Isaac Sofer?
Yes.
Robert Solano? Del Teague?
Yes.
Tommy Torres? William Vega?
Yes. Yes.
Maria Vieira?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes. Stephen Weiberg?
Yes.
Simon Weiser?
I mean, it's 7.
Yes.
Okay.
30 yes, 0 no, 1 abstention, motion carries.
Thank
Okay,
you,
thank you.
Jerry.
That's the end of my report.
Thank you, Dale.
Excuse me, Madam
Capital
Chair.
budget, Gina.
Somebody gonna speak? Oh, okay. Okay, good evening. This is the capital budget report. On October 7, we had a meeting on the capital budget process for the fiscal year 2023. Committee members who were present reviewed and discussed the written comments that were submitted for consideration as addition to last year's document. All received the copy of report and revised documents. Also included in this report is a statement that highlights the committee's discussion. Noted of significance and importance in the statement is that per the 2020 census data, Brooklyn's population has increased by 9.2%. It is now the 4th largest city on the overall list after New York City and before Manhattan. Furthermore, of Brooklyn's neighborhoods, Williamsburg and Greenpoint, have experienced the greatest increase in population. Therefore, and this is part of our narrative and framework, this huge increase in the population of our district should benefit with a proportionate increase in funding. In this document, the district needs are numbered to designate our priorities. Also noted is the responsible agency and an explanation of our request. And this will be the framework to work with in going toward the future. The following changes were made to last year's documents. On the budget items, item number 8, MTA NYCAT, continuation, there was a modification. The continuation of the train station upgrading program was modified to include the used train station. That's the J, M, and Z line, requesting surveillance cameras and improved lighting. There has been an increase in crime at this train station. On the expense budget items, item number 20 was moved to item number 5 as per the community's need for more mental health services. Item number 14 was removed because funding for this type of program as per OMB's response agency is decided, this was their response, it should be decided at the local level. It is recommended to contact the Borough Field Support Center for that school. This was an item, request funding improvement for the schools, such as more teaching resources, to include a new library for PS 250 and installation of air conditioning for district schools. Item 19 on trash removal and street cleanliness was modified to include the overspilling garbage cans and the need to address illegal dumping with requests for surveillance cameras and more sanitation personnel. And then we added item number 28. We request that seats and bus shelters be added to designated MTA bus stops. Okay, my report was submitted, and I need a motion to approve the written report. I request a motion to approve the written report.
Teague, I make a motion.
I second that.
Joel Gross second.
Who made the motion?
Teague.
Joel Gross second.
I didn't hear the first person.
Teague, I made
Oh,
a motion.
Dell and Joe Gross. Jerry, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Gina Argento,
What is written.
Yes.
Bogdan Barkarowski, Lisa Bamonte, Gina Barros,
Yes.
Tion Brooks,
Yes.
Eric Berzadas, Tom Burrows.
Jerry Bogdan is yes.
Thank you.
Thank
Tom
you.
Burrows, Iris Cabrera,
Yes.
Phil Caponegro.
Oh, I said yes, Jerry, sorry.
Thank you. Phil Caponegro, Frank Carbone.
Yes.
Thank you. Stephen Chesler,
Yes.
Michael Chirichella,
Yes.
Teresa Cinciata.
Yes.
Thank you. Giovanni D'Amato.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Aaron Drinkwater, Arthur Dibinowski,
Yes.
T. Willis Elkins,
Yeah.
Joey Amanda Foster.
Yes.
Thank you. Joel Goldstein, Joel Gross,
Yes.
Katie Denny Horwitz,
Yes.
Sonia Iglesias,
Yes.
Moisha Indig, Rosanna Kaminsky.
Yes.
Thank you. Ryan Coonan,
No.
Joel Landau, Marie Leanza.
Yes.
Thank you. Abraham Leibovitz, Joel Lowe, Trina McKeever,
Yes.
Sante Maselli,
Abstain.
Toby Moskovitz, Martin Niederman, Rabbi Niederman,
Yes.
Karen Nieves,
Yes.
Mario Domerick,
Yes.
Janice Peterson, Dana Racklin,
Yes, Jan.
Bella Sable,
Yes.
Isaac Sofer,
Yes.
Robert Solano, Del Teague,
Yes.
Tommy Torres, William Vega,
Yes.
Maria Vieta.
Yes.
Thank you. Stephen Whiteberg.
Yes.
Simon Weiser.
Yes.
Jerry, Lisa Bamonte, yes. I'm sorry, I had connection difficulty.
So noted. Thank you.
Jerry, do you have meat? Yes, Bogdan?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
$33 yes, 1 no, 0 abstention. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Does that conclude your report, Gina?
One abstention, Jerry. It was me.
Yes, thank you. In conclusion,
You're welcome.
thank you.
Transportation Committee report, Eric Pizadas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Report as written, but we did have 4 motions that were all approved unanimously by the committee without abstention or objection. If possible, I'd like to read the motions and if we can vote on them all on block. Madam Chair?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay, so the committee took up the school safety program that was presented last month. There was some discussion about the lack of green infrastructure as part of the plan. It seemed like short-sighted that with tearing up the streets, they weren't putting in any bioswales or any green infrastructure to mitigate flood damage, which is expected to only get worse in the city. However, we did motion to approve the DOT school safety plan for safety improvements and demand that the DOT coordinate with DDC and DEP. Sorry, I lost it. Coordinate with DEP and DDC to include stormwater management and green infrastructure prior to construction. That was the first motion. Second motion came later in the discussion. It was taking up old business. The community motion was to have the community board draft a letter to NYC DOT to alter the evening rush hour regulations on Lee Avenue from Taylor Street to Flushing Avenue on Fridays for religious accommodation. The next item is also old business. Community Board 1 to draft a letter to DSNY and NYC DOT to remove the night cleaning regulations on Wallabout Street.
Flushing.
Okay, hang on. So yeah, there was a discussion after the meeting, the way it was drafted. So it's to I need to amend what's in the report. It's the location is actually Flushing Avenue from Franklin Street to Kent Avenue, and Kent Avenue from Flushing Avenue till Wallabout Street. This has become, we've talked about this a number of times in the committee and at the board. It's now more of a residential block and does not require the night regs. And so the motion is to take out the night cleaning regulations. Sorry, in those parameters. And the last item came up during the school safety discussion, but it's more general. And we see this a lot where the city will come to us with plans that are somewhat fully formed, and then we're asked to comment and vote on them. This motion was that the community board 1 to draft a letter to NYC DOT, DEP, and DDC to coordinate and advise the board of future projects in advance of the design phase to improve planning and community input, to avoid having them come to us at the last minute saying they can't put in bioswales or whatever. So those were the 4 motions, and I'll ask for an approval.
Sonia Iglesias make a motion.
Simon
Yes,
Weiser,
second.
second. Simon Weiser.
Sonia Glacis and Simon Weiser. Can I have a roll call vote, please?
I think just,
Can we have a roll call vote, please, Jerry?
What's the motion? To approve the committee's 4 recommendations as written, Mr. Brusadas?
Yeah.
Well, I do have to change the language on the motion from the report, but as I explained, the parameters for the night cleaning regulations, I explained it to the board, but I can resubmit the actual language later tonight.
So do you want to repeat that for the record? So repeat which items are being voted on as written and which is the one, and then just
Okay.
repeat
Sure.
the one that you're making, proposing the changes to. And
Yes,
then
sir.
we'll need the motions again, please.
Okay, so it's motion 1 to approve the school safety plan with demands for green infrastructure. Motion 2, which was to alter the evening rush hour regulations for religious accommodations on Friday. And the last, as written, was to send a letter to DDC, DEP, and DOT to coordinate with the board, to coordinate with themselves, and then advise the board before the design phase. As those are as written.
And that was motion 3?
That was motion 4.
4, okay. And then just read the revised motion 3, please.
Okay, so Community Board 1 to draft a letter to DSNY and NYC DOT to remove the night cleaning regulations on Flushing Avenue from Franklin Street to Kent Avenue and Kent Avenue from Flushing Avenue till Wallabout Street. We okay, Jerry?
Yeah, I'm okay. We just need
Sonia Iglesias make the motion.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Jerry.
we need you to acknowledge re-acknowledge the motion in the second, please.
Joe
Okay.
Gross?
Sonia Glacis and was it Joe Gross?
Yes.
Okay. Can we have the roll call vote, please?
Certainly.
Necessary changes.
Gina Argento,
yes.
Bogdan Bakarowski,
Yes.
Lisa Bamonte,
Yes.
Gina Barros,
Yes.
Tion Brooks, Eric Brusadas.
Tion Brooks, yes.
So noted. Mr. Brusadas,
Yes.
Tom Burrows,
Yes.
Iris Cabrera,
Yes.
Phil Caponegro, Frank Carbone,
Yes.
Stephen Chesler,
Yes.
Michael Chirichella. Michael Chirichella,
Yes.
Teresa Cinciata. Tish,
Michael Chiricho's a yes, Jerry.
I got you. Tish,
Yes.
thank you. I could see you. Giovanni D'Amato,
Yes.
Aaron Drinkwater, Arthur Dibinowski,
Yes.
T. Willis Elkins,
Yes.
Julia Amanda Foster,
Yes.
Joel Goldstein, Joe Gross,
Yes.
Katie Denny Horowitz, Sonia Iglesias,
Yes.
Moisha Indig, Rosina Kaminsky,
Yes.
thank you. Ryan Coonan,
Yes.
Yoel Landau, Marie Leanza,
Yes.
thank you. Abraham Leibovitz, Yoel Lowe, Trina McKeever,
Yes.
Sante Maselli,
Yes.
Toby Moskowitz, Martin Needleman, Rabbi Niederman,
Yes.
Karen Nieves,
Yes.
Mary O'Domark,
Yes.
Janice Peterson,
Yes.
Dana Racklin, Ella Sable,
Yes.
Isaac Sofer,
Yes.
Robert Solano, Del Teague,
Yes.
Tommy Torres, William Vega,
Yes.
Maria Vieta,
Yes.
Stephen Wyper,
Yes.
Simon Weiser,
Yes.
34 yes, 0 no, 0 abstention. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Does that
Thank you.
conclude your report, Eric?
I just want to mention one other thing. We did try to have a discussion on district needs, the statement of district needs, but we ran out of time to get into it in a substantive way. I just want to note that Willis Elkins submitted a request to be added if possible. Otherwise, we'll take it up with DOT at some point, to redesign Kingsland Avenue from Greenpoint Avenue to North Henry Street behind the wastewater treatment plant for pedestrian and bicycle safety, parking improvements, and truck traffic flow to better serve both local businesses and visitors to the Newtown Creek Nature Walk entrance opened in 2021. I'm pretty sure that we've been trying to get this for a while, and it's something that we really do need. So, and with that, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Eric. Verbal report of board budget, Maria Vieira.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. Good evening, everyone. Thank you to the board budget committee members who met on October 19th to discuss the current expenses against the approved budget. We discussed setting a threshold whereby the board would request an approval of the purchase of an item that exceeds a $500 limit. We all agreed that these items would speak to particularly furniture, equipment, and one piece of material, because the budget is so that there's really not many items here that would actually exceed that amount. There are very few lines that go above the $1,000 mark. So we agreed the board would request approval of the budget committee when and if purchasing one item that goes above a $500 threshold. Another thing that we discussed, and by the way, we need a vote. We need the approval of the full board to move forward with that recommendation. So does anybody want to make a motion? Do you agree, disagree?
Is there a motion?
So the issue is, do we approve allowing the board to make decisions on purchases where they would only seek the approval of the committee if spending more than $500 on one item?
Is there?
Joe Gross.
To approve, David.
Wait, I have a question.
Yes.
So if their expenditures under 500, they would just be approved by your committee or by the board office, or?
No approval.
We don't need an approval. We already have an approved budget. We approved the budget back in June. So what we are looking to do is ensure that if there is one item being purchased by the board or in consideration of purchase, that if it exceeds a $500 threshold, that it should be approved by the committee, just to make sure that there was prudence when actually bidding for the price, to make sure that if there were other considerations, other options, that they were all taken into account when thinking about making this purchase.
Okay.
In
but
other
when you
words,
say-
any purchase over $500 would need approval from the budget committee.
Correct.
Right, but then would the board have to approve that afterwards or at the next meeting, or?
Well, if we all agree that we trust board budget committee, then it would be a go. But here's where it gets a little bit iffy. If the board requires that we go back to full board for purchases, then we'd have to wait for the next meeting to make sure that the full board is on board. Pardon the well,
Well-
I hope that you guys can trust.
Well, I assume that would be reported in your committee report at the
Absolutely.
next meeting. Okay.
Absolutely. And there is a reconciliation that is shared by Jerry every single month that shows a spreadsheet with all of the expenses for the month and the balances to date.
Joel Gross for a motion.
Well, I have a question, Del Teague. I have my hand up here. So when you say that purchased by the board, do you mean purchased by the office?
The office. This is the yeah.
Thanks.
The office,
Okay,
not us,
thank
not
you.
the board as a body.
Right,
The office.
right, but the office. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Joel Gross is making a motion.
Okay, a motion is on the floor to approve a budget of anything spent over $500 have to go to the budget committee for approval. Joe Gross, is there a second?
Julia Foster seconds.
Roll call vote, please.
Gina Argento,
Yes.
Bogdan Bakarowski,
Yes.
Lisa Bamonte,
Yes.
Gina Barros,
Yes.
Tian Brooks, Eric Brusadas,
Yes.
Thomas Burrows,
Yes.
Iris Cabrera,
Yes, Eddie.
Phil Caponegro, Frank Carbone,
Yes.
Stephen Chesler,
Yes.
Michael Chirichella, Teresa Cinciata,
yes,
Giovanni D'Amato,
Yes.
Aaron Drinkwater, Arthur Dibnowski, T. Willis Elkins.
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry. Yes.
Yes.
I got too many yeses and I'm not sure who made those yeses. So Arthur?
Yes. Yes.
Arthur's? Yes, so noted. Willis?
Yes.
Thank you. Julia Amanda Foster?
Yes.
Thank you. Joel Goldstein? Joel Gross?
Yes.
Katie Denny Hurwitz?
Yes.
Sonia Iglesia?
Yes.
Moisha Indig? Bozina Kaminsky? Brian Coonan? Yoel Landau? Marie Leanza?
yes,
Abraham Leibovitz? Yoel Lowe? Trina McKeever?
Yes.
Sante Maselli?
Santa Michelle, yes.
Toby Moskowitz?
Yes.
Martin Needleman? Rabbi Niederman?
Yes.
Karen Nieves?
Yes.
Mario Damark?
Yes.
Janice Peterson?
Yes.
Dana Racklin? Bella Sable?
Yes.
Isaac Sofer? Robert Solano? Del Teague?
Yes.
Tommy Torres? William Vega?
Yes.
Maria Vieta?
Yes.
Stephen Weiberg?
Yes.
Simon Weiser?
Yes.
Shows a yes, Jerry.
Yes vote for Mr. Chiricello. 33 yes, 0 no, 0 abstention. Motion carries.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you, everyone. So the board budget committee will meet again in 3 months as we have set our schedule for quarterly meetings. Our next meeting will be in January. Don't know the day yet, but January 2022. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Maria. That concludes our committee reports. Parks Department, is Mary back? Mary, are you here? Mary here from Parks? Okay, I thought she was gonna be here with Parks minute as written. Are there any announcements from the elected officials?
Mary's here. She says I'm here.
Yeah,
Would
I'm
you
here.
like-
Someone just unmuted me.
Okay, thank you, Mary. How you doing? Welcome back. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. It's good to be back. We're doing well here. I had, for those who don't know, I had a little girl, Ivy.
Great.
She's 23 weeks now. So 5 months and getting bigger and bigger.
Thank you. Great, great. We wish you all the best.
Oh, thank you so much. Vinny Piccolo is also here. I know he helped a lot when I was out, and I really appreciated his help. So I think he did a really good job of addressing all your concerns. If there's any other questions, just let us know.
Okay, thank you, Mary. Are there elected officials that signed up to speak? Are there any elected officials here that didn't sign up to speak?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Leslie Wright from New York State Parks wrote in the Q&A that she had trouble connecting to audio earlier and asked if she could still speak.
I had gotten a note that she wanted to speak. She couldn't get audio and she wanted to speak at the December meeting. Okay, but she has audio now?
I believe so.
Okay, if she has audio now. Mary? Leslie?
Hello, Madam Chair, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank goodness. I apologize for the earlier difficulties and thank you very much for allowing me to speak. So I just wanted to take a moment of everyone's time to speak about Marsha P. Johnson State Park. The park had enjoyed a nice, peaceful summer. Lots of folks visited, and our park house is fully open. I'm told that our park bathrooms are delightfully clean, and we're just really happy to have those open for everyone. Programming in the park house has also kicked in. If you follow the park on social media, you can get all the announcements about the programming there and other activities in the park. As we last left off with respect to the construction and capital improvements in the park, you may all recall that with the change in design, thanks to the positive community feedback, we were required by the New York State Comptroller to rebid much of the site work at the park, the stormwater management infrastructure, and the porous concrete pavers, or pavement rather, as well as a lot of the garden landscaping. And that government procurement has proceeded. We have opened the contracts. We're going through the steps to get the contractor in contract. By the December meeting, I hope to be able to come back and make a full presentation outlining the timeline for this work. But in general terms, I can say that the construction should begin shortly after the new year and wrap up by the end of May. In addition, and that's all in 2022. In addition, as also last discussed when I presented back, I guess in the summer, my agency's commissioner has convened an art advisory committee. The committee is composed of members of Marsha P. Johnson's family, members from the Black Trans Working Group that helped us design and create the interpretive signs that are now installed in the park that tell the story of Marsha's life, excuse me, and her life's work. Together with members from the community. Steve Chesler is on this committee, as well as representatives from my agency. That committee has convened to start the work of vetting public art pieces to go in the park. Significantly, a decorative gateway treatment in the park. And then also a signature piece of public art that will be placed at a location to be determined by all in the park. It'll be a permanent piece of art. The Art Advisory Committee also includes, excuse me, 2 public art professionals who have been working in the realm of public art in Brooklyn in particular for many, many years. And I hope to regularly report to this board, to the Parks Committee, and to the community as a whole on the status of this committee, as well as, open meetings in the park itself to gain larger community input in this process. That is my update. And once again, I thank you for the time.
You're welcome, Leslie. Is there any old business?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Can I ask the commissioner, will there be a representative from this board on the art committee?
Yes, Steve Chesler is on the art committee, the Art Advisory Committee.
No, but will there be a representative appointed by the board chair to this committee?
That's a very good question. I'm happy to take recommendations on that.
Okay, Chester, you had a question?
Yeah, was this regarding the time limitations on meetings and specifically the committees? I was under the impression that the limit was 10 o'clock, but I'm hearing from some of the committee reports that they're using 9 o'clock as the limit. So I just wanted to confirm what the limit is.
Well, the committee can set their time from 6 to 10. If they want to leave, if they want to quit at 9, that's them. But we want to keep the meeting structured. We want them to be beneficial. We want them to be educational, and we want people to learn in the committees and take the time to discuss the issues and not get into personalities. But that's why the time is streamlined, because the meetings become abusive, verbally abusive, and everything else. We want the meetings to be constructive, and the time constraint would feel like it will help us curb the meeting where we can get the business of the board done.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. Yeah, I just wanted to get clarity on the actual time. It was 9 or 10, but it sounds like the committee chairs have flexibility to stop earlier if they want, but 10 can go to 10 if they want.
Yes, we'd like for the meetings to end at 10,
Okay.
if you want to end them earlier, that's, but preferably 9 o'clock would be great, because we have staff that's working that has to travel and go home. So we prefer 9 o'clock. Any other questions? Any other comments?
Madam Chair, Sante Micheli.
Yes?
Yeah, no, back on the hours, I mean, I understand it's really fair. Probably it's a good system. Just a concern, looking at the hard work that the SLA review committee, and especially in light of the number of license, and I know they abstain from some vote because we kind of ended up in a situation where we're going to do a disservice to the community, and there is all these accumulated licenses. And not that I want to give them more work, absolutely not. But in reality, how is the committee going to deal with that time restriction as it is overwhelmed? And every month there's going to be postponement and postponement. So just a question, and probably the committee themselves, they should probably question the issue. But I fear that we disservice the community by ignoring the reality of it.
We don't feel like we're doing a disservice to the committee, to the community. The biggest complaints was to the committee. You got people that go to work, that people got families at home. Everybody's working from home. People haven't had their dinner. We got a lot of complaints, especially from SLA. These meetings are not all night gatherings. Any other questions or comments?
I have new
Chair.
business.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
just again on the hours, I fully understand the rationale for that, especially in my committee, which gets very hot, as we all know. I think it's working out for the transportation committee in general, the 9 o'clock
Yes.
stop. But for the SLA, because the volume of work is so long, we are talking internally about, trying to streamline the process a little bit. But until we can do that, it really is useful to stay until at least 10 to work through all the applications, because, we had to hold over so many from the last meeting, and partly because we missed the September meeting. But it's going to be a monthly occurrence where we're pushing applications to the next month, like 10 or 15, which just compounds. And so all I can say is we're working internally to try to make it better, and Tom could speak to this if he likes, but it is useful to have a 10 o'clock stop, especially for SLA, because of the volume of the work.
Yeah. Okay, I must backtrack. I think I made a mistake. I think the committee did vote on 9 o'clock to end the meetings, but we know that meetings can go over. But, we got a lot of complaints from SLA. We got them from transportation, and from the community, from the regular board meeting hearing. So we got to use our time to conduct business.
Madam Chair, I think you also mentioned that it would be up to the committee chair if it has to be up until 10 o'clock, that would be okay, right? It's 9 o'clock, but if the chairperson needs more time, 10 o'clock would be the deadline.
Well, the committee, like I said, the executive committee voted for 9 o'clock, for the meeting to end at 9 o'clock. I made a mistake. I apologize. But we want all the meetings to end. But I notice sometimes the meetings go over. But we want meetings to be over by 9 o'clock. Jerry, you had something you want to say? I think somebody was trying to say something.
Yeah, not regarding this though. I just wanted to give a little bit of a footnote and an acknowledgement for that first item that we heard on the agenda tonight. Many people that are on the board now were not around then. And I just think it bears repeating the hours and hours that went into making that project a reality. And I especially want to acknowledge the late Assemblyman Vito Lopez. Without his leadership on that project, that would still be underdeveloped property to this day. And he literally set the cornerstones to making that project happen and bringing all those groups together. And I think it's worth mentioning. And I thank you for the moment.
Thank you, Jerry. Yeah, I remember I was part of the charrettes and all that stuff going all the way back when it began. I remember the fights and people closing down the schools, meetings, and the police being called and everything. It was really a contentious situation. And like you said, we owe it all to Assemblyman Vito Lopez for getting us this far, because it was a real battle getting this project together. So we really owe him a debt of gratitude.
And 100% affordable. I'm sure he's smiling.
Yes. He's up there listening to you, Jerry.
The what, Maria?
I said he's up there listening. He's happy about it.
Yes. So it's great for the community. It was a long fight, and thank God, the groups came together and they're working on it, and look like it's going to be a benefit to the community. Is there anything else?
Del Teague, I just have a new business. It's an announcement. At best, this announcement is very frivolous, but my crazy band, Squirrels from Hell, is going to play on November 20th at Pete's Candy Store. It's on Lorimer Street at 10 p.m. So I don't get to play that often in the neighborhood. Usually we're up in Manhattan, but anybody wants to come, you're still awake at 10 o'clock on November 20th. I'd love to see you there in a very different situation.
Where is it again, Del?
It's Lorimer Street, 709 Lorimer Street, Pete's Candy Store. It's a nice place. And anyway, there's no cover charge, it's free.
Okay.
And, yeah, 10 o'clock, November 20th. Thank you.
It starts at 10.
We start at 10. I mean, there were bands before us. There's a band before us.
But you'll come on at 10.
But we would come on at 10. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Dale, for the update.
you. Thanks.
Enjoy. Have fun.
Yeah.
Any other comments?
Just want to thank Jerry for his comments.
Okay. If no other comments, can I have a motion to adjourn?
I have a motion to adjourn.
Vega seconds.
Okay. Good night, everybody. Take care. Stay healthy. Stay safe. And thank you for being good participants and getting us out at a decent hour.
Have a happy
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving all.
Yes.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Turkey Day.
Good night.
Happy
Thanksgiving. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Peace out,
Good
homies.
night.
Bye. Good night. Good night.
Good night.